Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas.
I'm Heidi Henry, and I'm going to get in your face.
I'm Murri Brio, trying to save the human race.
And we're coming to you, Murri, today from the edge of the Great Red Divide like we do every podcast. And today we're going to talk about one of our favorite subjects, unions.
Yeah! Heidi and I are both very big union supporters. While neither one of us have been in a union, we both understand the value and importance. I grew up a union girl. My dad was an electrician, IBEW, working out at Pilkington in Utica. Actually, it was Libby Owens Ford back then.
Right.
With the UAW. And he was a steward. I was at meetings. I remember walking the picket line with him when I was 5. We would go door to door and talk to members. And it's because of that. I wanted to be an electrician, actually.
Yeah.
And my dad told me no.
You know, we've had similar conversations with our kids about don't do what I do.
Yeah, so. He's like, you're smart enough, you can go do something else. It's too backbreaking, the labor. But it was something that I always wanted to do. So we have, most of my family is in a union. Most of them are electricians. We have one plumber. Good for you. But most of them are electricians.
My husband was 30 years IBEW,
right.
196 local, and we were there from the time my husband and I helped organize his workplace until he retired. So, strong union family, and we were only one generation removed from unions with my grandparents. So, big union supporters.
Right. We believe that unions have given us what we have today.
Absolutely.
That it is imperative that people be allowed to organize, to collectively bargain.
Easily organize.
When we talk about the construction industry, the trades, one of the union trades, one of the things that people miss quite a bit is the quality of instruction that apprentices get. It is above and beyond. Some of the apprenticeships, you end up with an associate's degree. Some will help you to go on to get your bachelor's degree.
Right.
There are many different alternatives within a union. Lots of different things to do.
My husband was a heavy equipment operator in an electrical union, but that was his job. And so he dug holes and unfortunately was caved in on too. But he lived to fight another day.
But the quality of work that you have done is extremely important. If you've ever hired somebody to do something around your house and it was a crap job, and you look around, you think about how much money you spent on it, and you're angry for like the next 6 months or 6 years.
Next time, hire a union contractor.
Because what they actually do is they're trained in a way that others aren't. They have to maintain a certain high level of standards. My husband works for Granite Construction. He works for Kenny, who was bought by Granite. They're a large Fortune 500 general contractor out in California. They are so pro-labor that they actually are considering purchasing a company in Texas to unionize it to be able to do quality work.
Wow.
So, this company builds everything, and they're world famous, and to know that they emphasize the skill, they know it's more important to have quality work done than not. So I just want to say, shout out to Grant.
And I want to talk a little bit about what unions have done for this country, because unions built the middle class. When we go into Streeter, Illinois, or into even Marseilles, where I live, people will have murals done on the side of their buildings. And they always depict stuff from the 40s and 50s. Coincidentally, when the middle class was at its zenith, when the unions were at their strongest, highest membership. So when we look back on those times, those good times brought to you by the union.
Safety, quality of work, educational opportunities, fair pay, retirement, all of
weekends.
These things that we take for granted were done on the blood, sweat, and tears of labor. We're not going to go into a history of labor. We know a lot of women's labor history and whatnot. But we just wanted to establish the baseline of why we feel that unions
Right.
are so critical
and
to our nation.
Murri, I wore my UAW shirt that we got
In
up at
Boone
the-
County.
In Boone County, right? We've got some of our swag up there on the wall, and
Thank you so much, Boone County Democrats, for having us come out. For those of you who don't know, we did a show at the Boone County Democrats, and it was great. The tent next to us is the UAW, and they are amazing. We're really excited.
A couple
shout
tents
out to
over
UAW.
was the Republicans. I brought them some literature.
She did. She brought them some Democratic literature. A couple of stalls the other way were Illinois for Bernie. So
and we're not endorsing Bernie, but it was run by
those
friends.
are the groups that we
there
saw
was,
that
there
were
was
there.
there.
At the county fair.
So, Murri, there's been some legislation that went around, and we have been reflective of that as we talk about the economy that the president claims is booming, but we know it's not booming for everyone, because I'm not making any more money now than I did last year in 2016 or in 2015. Well, because I told you my small
my
30,000 plus in deductions I'm missing because little tiny businesses like mine got hit the hardest by the Trump tax cut. The money to pay the rich to give that
come from somewhere.
It came right out of my pocket, and I'm not too happy. So that's why my farm is now a one-woman show, because I can't afford to hire anybody, So I wanted to talk about the things that were done under the Obama administration that were supposed to make things better, and really, in some ways did, but in a big way, he dropped the ball.
Overall, I think there was a lot of progress for organized labor during the Obama administration.
He probably was, in modern times, the most pro-labor president.
He was, in modern times, by far, but I don't know if it went far enough.
Well, I know it didn't go far enough.
I don't feel like it did, and this is what we talk about, and Heidi swayed me to this opinion, that every time we give up ground, every time we try to come together and say, okay, well, we'll concede on this or concede on this, we move farther and farther
to the right,
regressively.
Middle ground,
as opposed to progressively.
Middle ground is now to the right.
Right, it's not
middle ground anymore.
So the Obama years were an example of that. We made progress, but we didn't make the progress that we needed because of lots of external influences.
Obama, and I love Barack Obama. I mean, I never met him, but I think he was we're not slamming him, but I think when you haven't grown up in a union household and you haven't been dependent on that income and that work ethic, and you don't understand it, it becomes just sound in your ear. I don't think it lives in your heart like it does in our hearts. I don't think he understood the gravity of what it takes to be a union member and the gravity of what it brings to the entire workforce. Unions set the standard for everybody. So when they're treated fairly, when they fight for collective bargaining, when they fight for their contracts, it trickles down. I hate trickle-down economics, but all of us get to benefit from the effects. I don't care if it's the weekend. I don't care if it's time and a half on Sunday, and you're not in a union. You can thank a union for that even being possible. Right. So where Obama did the Lilly Ledbetter Pay Act, which allowed women to sue for not getting equal pay, but didn't guarantee women equal pay. And we will never get that under the Trump administration. Luckily, we have J.B. Pritzker, so you will in Illinois, ladies. So come to Illinois to work,
We love you in Illinois.
We take care of our workers in Illinois.
Forget that Heartland crap that you hear from everybody saying, "Oh, they're all."
Illinois is an anomaly in the Midwest at times,
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to reiterate that union membership is down from around 45% in the 40s and 50s to 11% now. And haven't we all felt that?
Is a reduction in manufacturing, in the manufacturing industry, because as manufacturing changed and became more automated and we lost manufacturing, then
and we had Ronald Reagan
coming back. It's not coming back.
It's never coming back. Ronald Reagan opened the doors and kicked it all out.
And so that's a part of why we lost so
No, that
much strength.
When Reagan changed things, the anti-union rhetoric that he used was there to break the UAW, was to break the steel workers, was to break the Boilermakers, was to break private sector unions so that they wouldn't wield so much power.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that by rolling back tariffs. And we know how well tariffs work, don't we? So as a farmer, I'm feeling the tariff pinch right now.
So over the course, I guess what we're trying to say is over the course of the last 20 years, we have seen, 30 years, we've seen a decline in the strength and power of unions based on legislation, administrations, and even in Obama's era, which made significant headway. I mean, he had issues, and not everything went well, like handing off the...
the National Free Choice Act.
And by
Are
handing
you
that to
kidding
Rahm
me?
Emanuel.
Oh, you give thanks to Mayor 1%. Who do you think he's going to deal with? And Arnie Duncan, for real? These guys don't know labor. They've been union busters forever. And Obama, who's a corporate Democrat, and I know, being a progressive, that's like not good.
You just said the worst thing he could say.
I know.
Don't listen to that part.
Sorry. But meaning that he's more likely to work with corporations and therefore management, and less likely to work for the people, the workers, the backbone of this country. And by not putting forward all of its effort into the National Free Choice Act, we have this horrible bill right now that Rand Paul is trying to work through the Senate.
So this bill, the current Congress is the 16th, and it's S525. Now, what this bill is it's a very
one-page bill. One page.
It's one paragraph.
That tells you how valuable Rand Paul thinks labor is in the United States. One page.
Basically, it is the national
right to work for less.
Yeah, for less act, but without the for less. So
no.
Now the thing
it should be in there.
The thing about this bill that we have to understand is when the labor movement wasn't pushed far enough during the Obama administration.
When it wasn't protected.
They introduced legislation that had, in 2015...
Janus.
In 2015, it was the same federal right to work legislation.
Yes.
And they had 122 sponsors on it. As they moved into 16, which we know what happened in 16... they had 144, so they grew by 22 22 sponsors.
Took a huge step to the right, and when you take a step to the right, it's terrible for workers. It's great for corporate America, but the workers, the backbone of this country, those of us that do most of the living and dying, as from It's a Wonderful Life in this country, take a back seat. We get less. So this 1% tax cut's not for us. This national right to work for less bill is not for us. It's for them.
Absolutely. And so as it has slowly gained in momentum. So what that means is the more sponsors that you have, the more support they have, which is building. And it has gone up. They've gained like almost 40 supporters over the last 4 years.
Isn't that terrible?
So 40 more sponsors are in on this. And what has happened, and that's just as of 2018. So now we're in 2019, and we had the ruling on the Janus case back in 18.
Told you, don't be a Janus.
It was 18, right? It wasn't the beginning of 19?
It was last year.
I thought so.
Last year, yeah.
So
I was down in Chicago. I passed up on going to a ball to go to the...
Good for her.
To go to a protest.
So the reason that the Janus case was so important was that it...
I'm sorry, 17.
It gave employees the ability to not pay membership dues to be a part of collective bargaining. But in actuality, that meant to be a part of political influence. Because,
right. It's PAC money.
Right. So they said, no, you don't have to do that. And there was a lot of concern about that destroying unions, but we can see it hasn't been outright. They haven't been broken.
It's early.
But we are pushing closer and closer to that. This legislation from Rand Paul, which is now in committee.
And Janus was specifically a public sector AFSCME. They went after the public sector. And Janus worked for under the Rauner administration here in Illinois. And, of course, Rauner had tried to bring that legislation up first, thrown out because he was the governor. So he found Janus. Don't be a Janus. Ever.
Don't be a Janus.
And the thing is that once we set precedent with the Janus case in public sector workers, this directly affects private sector workers like my husband was. And we can end up with a whole mess of poverty.
Absolutely. It doesn't just affect that, but the Janus ruling now has increased senators' ability to say, well, if the Supreme Court says you can't do that, then clearly there should be legislation that says that, which allows them to sell the federal right to work.
No, it doesn't mean that, senators.
And it is a very scary, slippery slope that we're approaching.
And we're counting on the House. Nancy Pelosi, I'm looking at you again. We had this conversation a few weeks ago or in our last broadcast. I'm looking at you to protect the workers. And when we come down to Springfield to hear you talk on Wednesday, I'm going to expect to hear you stand up tall for unions and say that you absolutely will not allow this right to work for less bill to make its way through the House. If Mitch McConnell can sit on stuff, Moscow Mitch, you can too.
Agreed. Yeah,
so
definitely.
We have to protect workers in this country. Workers, you are worth more than a one-page bill telling you make too much money.
A one-paragraph bill.
Yeah.
One paragraph.
That says that you have no rights and that you make too much money and that you, I don't know.
I'll read the exact, keep going, I'll read the exact legislation.
Well, here's the thing. We undervalue our workforce and our labor. And that rhetoric started with Reagan. And this is why, I go off on Ronald Reagan all the time. But when you devalue the American workforce and American ingenuity and all the things that we bring to the table as workers, you devalue us as a country. We need to be sure that we pay our workers fairly, that we value their contribution to each company that they work for, that we treasure the fact that these people are loyal, that they give up everything. I mean, my husband gave up his physical health not for his union, he gave it up for his employer. And it's very, very, very important that we, as workers, take back our rights, take back our value, and know that our value is so important that we should fight tooth and nail for our right to unionize, and that joining a union, forming a union at your work should be as complicated as signing a card. And if more than 50% of the people in your workplace want to be in a union, then you should be into a union. It took almost 15 months for my husband's workplace to organize, and that was, I would say a year too long. So
this is a bill that the mamas are definitely going to be. I keep moving over here so I can get a signal.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, well, and Rand Paul, I think that the mamas need to put you on a serious timeout.
Rand Paul needs more than a timeout.
Rand Paul needs to be voted out. He needs to retire. He needs to not do this anymore. He harms the people of Kentucky. He harms the people of the United States with his bizarre anti-worker, anti-common sense legislation all the time. He's unworthy.
So this is the National Right to Work Act, and that's Senate Bill 525, introduced by Rand Paul. It amends the National Labor Relations Act and the Railway Labor Act, which are the two acts that allowed the ability to collectively bargain and require that union members pay dues.
It's like, that goes back to like Taft-Hartley.
Yeah, Taft-Hartley. Yes, yes. So to amend
Get your history book out.
To permit employees, pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement, that is a union security agreement, to require employees to join a union as a condition of employment, including provisions permitting railroad carriers to require. So that's it. That's the entire bill.
That's how much the Republicans think you are worth, workers. And anytime I see a union guy, a brother or sister, that says that they're going to vote for T-Rump again, honey, they don't have your back. He doesn't care because our president doesn't pay his workers, his contractors anyway. Why does he care if they're unionized or not? He's not going to pay you. So he's not going to back you. He's not going to take care of you. He's not going to make sure that you are paid what you're worth.
No, absolutely not.
And we can't, we have families to support. We have union brothers and sisters that are out there not only doing their job, but now they have to go out and get a side hustle. We talk to people every day that have got 2 and 3 jobs. That's terrible. That's why the unemployment rate is so low. It's not that we have great jobs. We have to cobble together.
We don't have great jobs.
Yeah.
We have jobs that
service industry jobs
don't pay well.
No.
That don't provide benefits. That
don't provide a predictable work schedule. And Murri, you know that I've worked really hard when I was running for office on a employees' bill of rights. That I would like to see done at a federal level. And Chicago has done some work on this, where you have a predictable schedule at least 2 weeks ahead of time so that you can have childcare, that you can plan to attend your kid's Little League game, that you can go to their spring choral concert, whatever it is, so that you can plan out, that you have a predictable rate of pay, including overtime, that you have predictable benefits. Now, benefits, if we pass universal health care, employees don't have to fight for health care anymore. Wouldn't it be nice to go to your employer and fight for your wages without having to fight for your benefits?
Because
too?
That's all factored into how much they pay you.
Right, exactly. I can't tell you how many times my husband's had to take wage concessions, so we would have good health insurance or dental insurance. It shouldn't be that way.
No.
We can do this. We can change. We can be the change we want to see, but we have to stand together, and we have to stop trying to straddle middle ground to make everybody happy, because the people that now control the middle ground is the right and the far right. Going to the left or the far left
is only getting us back to center.
Yes.
Every step we take, we lose ground. So we can't continue to allow these things to let us lose ground. We have to fight. We have to contact our legislators. We have to keep on top of bills like Senate Bill 525 to make sure that it doesn't get out of committee. We have to make sure that our representatives know this is something that we don't want.
You need to also go on any union website, and there's a little petition area you can go to. Sorry, we have a fly in the studio.
But there's
but there's a petition you can click on. I don't care if you go to UAW or United Steelworkers or Boilermakers or pipe fitters or LIUNA, to the laborers, or to IBEW. Every single one of them is going to have a link to a petition that you can click on and sign. It takes a few seconds of your time to help protect workers' rights in the United States.
Let's post that link. We'll post that link on our Twitter and Facebook as well.
Murri, in studying up for this podcast today, I did some research on union membership in other countries. Sweden has the highest standard of living of any country on the planet. They have 75% union membership. That's not a coincidence.
So let's restate that for those in the back row. Union membership in the country of Sweden, which also has health care, universal health care, has the highest quality of life, highest income, and 75% union members. 75% of the country is union members.
That's not
Those
a coincidence.
Two are not different. They are correlated, which is why it's important that we do everything we can. Even if you're not in a union, you can sign the petition. You can call your legislation. We need to make sure we're fighting for the people who fought for us.
Right. For all the people that came first before us. And now is the time to be having a talk with your kids. If your kid is good with working with their hands, if they love to be creative, if they have this desire to go out and work in the workforce after college, or not after college, but after high school.
The trades are a great opportunity.
Wonderful opportunity.
And things have changed over 40 years. to be able to, like IBEW, I happen to have a sweet spot for IBEW because I love my electricians.
Yeah.
They're always so
The Sparkies.
exciting.
The
Yeah,
Sparkies.
yeah, exactly.
My husband's a Sparky.
I know, my papa was, and half my family is. But the electricians, part of the apprenticeship program, none of these apprenticeships are short. They give education, they give certifications. If you're in the laborers,
Yep.
you have to have your flaggers certification, your
Right.
OSHA certification, all of these certifications. So they give you additional training. The IBEW, when you complete your 4 years, paid. So you're working and learning while you're getting paid, and you're not getting paid $8 an hour.
Right.
You know, you're starting. I don't want to say what the starting salary is because I don't know
But
what it is right
it's
now.
significantly better than working at Dollar General and Casey's, which are two of the largest employers in Marseilles, Illinois, where I live. So go for it.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I just had I had a young man that worked for me on the farm here for a little bit, and he moved back up from Arkansas because he said a lot of very unpleasant things about it being a right to work state and how you just couldn't make ends meet. You just couldn't make ends meet. So he comes back to Illinois to get a good union welding job. He gets one in 4 days, and he's working 6 days a week.
My nephew is in Iowa, which is not a particularly strong union state, but he is an operating engineer. And he is making great money. He's learning out in Iowa. He actually started the program as a senior in high school.
Right.
He started the apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So by the time he graduated, he had already had a year of an apprenticeship in, which was amazing.
Yeah.
He's 20 years old now, almost 21, and he's making great money. He bought a house.
Yep.
Because he wasn't ready for college. But like we're saying, there are unions that will help you go to college, that will, the IBEW, get your associate's degree when you finish the apprenticeship. So there are so many options. And I know I've told my boys, you know, my oldest wants to be a teacher and he's ready to go to college. My middle is awesome, but he's not there, and it's going to take growing up. And we said, if that's not something that you wanted to do, we would totally support you if you wanted to go in to the trades in any way, shape, or form.
I can't recommend it high enough. Like at these rural schools that have ag classes, they learn to weld. They can get certifications so that they can come out of high school certified as certified welders. And every community college, at least here in Illinois, has like a union prep class, or they'll have a union skills class where you can go in and try different things. See if you want to be a bricklayer or a welder or a pipe fitter. You know, those are...
And some of the community colleges have developed partnerships with the unions.
Oh, yeah. IVCC, Illinois Valley Community College, has one.
A big partnership.
Big partnership. And they have, every spring, they have all the trades out to do a trade fair. And talk to the kids about where they can go, and the high schools come in as well and talk to them.
But I think we might need to even go back a little farther. When you see kids who don't have a particular interest but a strong inclination towards something, and that doesn't mean you don't want them to keep going to school and be educated if they decide to go to college, but to let them know there's other options out there at a younger age makes a lot of sense.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because for many years we've pushed the narrative of the college education
go to
is
college.
the only thing you can do.
Yep.
And that, again, pulled away people from unions and pulled away people from labor.
Well, and I know, because I work very physically hard at my job, that my husband and I both really encouraged our kids to take different pathways. Our son's got the dreaded pre-existing conditions and probably couldn't have gone into a physically demanding job. I know he can't. And now our daughter has a very physically demanding job, and she works really hard at it. But we really drilled it into him, and it was unfair of me to put one of the kids through that because they weren't really interested in it. And the other one is like, yeah, go to school forever, you know.
So by not being open, you know, and considering that there are a lot of different types of skilled trades now.
Can you, I mean, I got to go to the trade fair at IVCC to see all the different things that they were doing. And it's like, man, I was thrilled by it.
Oh, I had more fun playing with the cement. They thought I was nuts. But I absolutely love it.
buttering
I go to the
bricks
trades
and
everywhere, every chance I can.
oh yeah,
I try to find a connection and be like, can I sneak in?
can I? Yeah,
Because it's amazing. But that's what we wanted to talk to you today about.
just
You know,
the
letting you
importance.
know where we stand and the importance of legislation that isn't highly publicized while we're watching.
They don't want you
the
to know.
idiots dancing around and, you know, telling lies and throwing out insults. What's going on is
Behind the
senators like
curtain.
Rand Paul are pushing legislation that went from 112 sponsors to 160 sponsors from the last Congress, not including this one. It is...
That's not good.
No, it's not. So we need to be conscious. We need to be aware. We need to fight for all of us. And we need to fight together.
Yes, when we work together, when we stick together, and I know the
Power in numbers.
power in numbers, and I know after you know, the Obama administration didn't get the National Free Choice Act passed, that they really dropped the ball on that when it was handed off to Mayor 1% Rahm Emanuel and Arnie Duncan. It was just dropped because they were trying to please too many Republicans, too many anti-labor forces to try to get some kind of nothing passed. So you got to drop that, because there's only one way to go forward, and it's not through the current administration. They are
mama
not.
takeaways are we have got to go left.
You
We
would-
can't
yeah.
be in the middle because the middle isn't.
The middle
centered
doesn't
anymore.
care. It's not
The
worker
middle
focused.
is right.
Yeah.
So and not right as in correct. Right
They're
as
in-
in
Not worker focused, and we need to remember that there's-
for whatever way you're looking at it.
if you look at the top of the pyramid, there's one guy making a whole
Make
lot
an
of money.
L with your
and-
finger and go the other direction.
Yeah, and then there's a whole bunch of the workers here at the bottom, and we're doing the best we can to prop up the guys at the top, and we've got to bring that down so that all of us have a fair shake in this world, and that our children have the same chances to earn a decent income, to retire healthy and young enough to enjoy it, that we have a better life planned ahead for them, and the only way we can do that is through strong unions.
So thank you for joining us. We would like to say, please share us with your friends on Twitter, on Facebook,
Share us
on
with your union
SoundCloud,
friends.
on share us with anyone. We've got topics. If you have a topic you'd like to hear, please let us know. Follow us on social media at Heartland Mamas, MAMAS. You can just find us anywhere with that moniker.
And
thanks again. We appreciate you tuning in. And if you want us to come
Yeah.
out somewhere,
we'll be happy to come and join
we'll
you.
come join you.
I love county fairs, but we'll do car shows.
I don't like hot. We'll go into that another time. But thank you for listening and join us again. We appreciate all your support.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.